Trevor, what's happened? So you actually, I didn't know, you got one of these to review today as well. What's happened?
Yeah, I got one of these fire dancers and it caught fire too just then.
Oh my god.
What a piece of shit. This is the second one as well.
All right.
And this also got a dodgy motor.
All right, well, we're going to fly mine around anyway. G'day, Stu here from UAVfutures, and today, well, welcome to the part 2 review of the FURIBEE Firedancer. And I've had a lot of comments, a lot of people emailing me saying, Stuart, where's the FURIBEE part 2? And finally, look, we're going to get Trevor in because that's what's been taking so long. Trevor's been a little bit busy, so he's here. I wanted to include him on this review, but we're going to be checking out the FURIBEE part 2. Now, if you haven't seen my part 1, go check that out, and pretty much the overall, you know, if you want to know the rundown on that bad boy, I thought it had some fantastic components in here, but the quality was a little bit lacking. So it's got all the right ideas, like the frame. The frame is a bit of a clone, actually, which is a bit of a shame. It's a clone of the Transtech Lightning, but it had a good camera, it had like a good VTX, the flight controller, ESCs, all that sort of stuff. It's meant to have the good components in here, but it was lacking a little bit of polish. So there was some things they needed to brush up on, like the antenna. I thought that bit might be breaking off soon. They needed to change something on the back. You can see I've still got it on this one. And then also, I felt like my front motor screw was a little bit loose, you know, the shaft and those sorts of things. So those parts were a little bit concerning because it wasn't going to be the quad where you can take it out of the box, fly it around, and have that perfect flight experience. So what we're going to be doing, I'm going to sort of be doing 2 of these. So this one, I'm going to be decking out and trying to change it and making it like the drone I was going to fly. So I probably will be switching out the motors. This one we're going to leave as stock. Then we're going to take them out to the field, fly them around, and we're sort of going to compare and get an overall feeling for how does a FURIBEE go, whether you've upgraded it, whether you're just flying it straight from the box, how does this drone perform? So enough rambling from me. Let's cut out to the studio and rip these 2 bad boys around in 3, 2, 1. Rightio, out here in the field, finally about to rip it around with the FURIBEE Firedancer. And Firedancer is a very apt name because this one caught on fire. And what I wanted to do, because this one had dodgy motors, so the quality control, it's not off to a good start. I wanted to show you guys what the upgraded motors were like. I just got some Emaxes on here. First the standard motors, but unfortunately the new one that came to replace the motors, it burst into flames. So all you guys are going to see today is a FURIBEE Firedancer with some different motors on there. So look, I'm not going to sit around and wait for a third one to turn up. So this is what we're going to check it out. Anyway, so we'll fly it around, get some HD footage, and we'll hand it over to Grumpy Trev and see what he thinks about it as well. All right, let's do it. Okie dokie, so here we go on board. Here's all the rubbish on the OSD and all that sort of stuff. And straight off the bat, look how jerky and how much oscillations we get. That trying to fly this thing was a very unfun experience. This felt like I was flying, I think the way we described it to Trev, it was like I was flying Open Pilot or something way back from like early 2015. That's how this thing's flight characteristics were. Now look, that could be because I had different props and different motors on here, and I know some people are going to be a little bit upset and be like, Stuart, that's not a true review. You know, why don't you fly it the way it came? And the reason was, well, it just doesn't work. The ones that I had before, one burst into flames and one had dodgy motors. So this was literally the best I could do to get this thing up and flying. So if you're looking for a 100% pure, I guess, review of exactly how it comes out of the box, just imagine it sitting on the ground, not doing much, because that's how well it flies, I guess, when you're just trying to fly it stock. But we've got this thing up and flying, and the oscillations, look, it felt fine on the controls, but the oscillation, you know, in terms of how snappy it was and all that sort of stuff, but it just had oscillations to boot. It wasn't very fun at all, and I actually found it difficult to fly around this course. Like, I'm trying to fly as best as I can, and you can see it was just really, really difficult to fly around. It was something about the handling I didn't like at all. So the whole combination of this quad, the tune, you know, mixed with the dodgy components, the things that are going on here, just didn't seem to work very well. I think I had to bring it in here and try and adjust my camera lens because it was definitely tilted down too far. That was making it difficult to fly as well. Now, the real shame of this one, like it's got the Transtech Lightning or a clone of that frame. The frame's okay. The motors were meant to be good specs, but I would say these have to be some of the worst quality control motors that I've seen because Trevor had some that didn't work. All of mine didn't seem to work very well, so that part was a big shame. And things like the VTX, which I thought would have been pretty good, mine burst into flames, you know, coming out there, so I'm not sure what's going on. The camera was fine. I thought the colors were nice and bright, all that sort of jazz. And the ESCs, look, you can't really go too wrong with ESCs nowadays, so that's fine. And it looked like on paper this stuff had some really good specs inside, but when it comes to it, I really feel like the quality of the FURIBEE, and I don't know if they're like an umbrella of corporations or what's going on like that, but this one, because I loved the X215, the original one, that was fantastic. This one, it's meant to be an awesome quad for the price. You know, this was going to be amazing.
but it just doesn't execute it very well. It was very unstable to fly, didn't perform very well, and to get such a high failure rate, you know, between Trevor and myself, this thing definitely didn't go very well at all. This would have to be one of the worst scoring quads we've had on the channel. So I'm going to say give this one a big miss. I'm not a fan of this one at all. Now, what I usually do, I usually hand it over to Grumpy Trev, but he actually had his own. He was going to take up and fly around and talk, but something happened, and you can see I'm sort of getting used to it when I'm flying around here. You know, the speed's picking up a little bit, but it really was difficult. I had to fight it the whole way. But yeah, usually I hand it over to Grumpy Trev and see what he thinks, but this was one of those cases where it just wasn't worth it, and he had some choice words to say about his anyway. So let's cut over and see what Trevor has to say about it.
Alrighty, so this one, look, it's a little bit different. I'm not going to be getting Grumpy Trev to fly it because that was a massive letdown. And look, it might not be a fair review. I can hear some people saying, Stuart, how's that fair? You've got different motors on there, yada, yada, yada. But my other one caught on fire. I had to change these motors out because they were dodgy. So I don't know what else I can do to sort of get this working. Trevor's got one. His caught on fire as well. So overall, I'm going to say give this one a massive miss. Look, it's like FURIBee. You're doing some things right. I like some of your ideas, but your execution is a massive letdown. There's no way where we should have 3 or 4 fire dancers and every single one has an issue. So that part was a massive letdown. And as far as the flight experience goes, it was pretty ordinary as well. Anyway, let's hand it over to Grumpy Trev because I'm sure he's got some very choice words to say about it as well. All right, Trevor, so what did you think when you saw, before we get into your FURIBee, what did you think when you saw, I should say Fire Dancer. Fire Dancer's a bit better. Before we get into your Fire Dancer, what did you think about mine that was flying around?
Not much, actually. It's it looked really crap.
Yep. How did it sound?
It sounded terrible.
Yep.
Just really wasn't worth flying anyway.
All right. And what about yours? So, what were your expectations when you took this out of the box and first saw it with the specs?
Well, I was actually looking forward to this because I got one sent to me as well, and it looked really good. I thought, gee, this looks nice. It's well put together. Solder joints are great. Configured it all up. So that, yeah, no worries. Stuck it on beta flight. Got it all right. Went to put the props on, and I couldn't tighten up one of the props. That's because the belt was actually loose on the shaft.
Yep, I had a very similar issue with mine on the first one. That's why I had to get another one sent with mine. Yep.
They sent me another one, and
is this the other one they sent you?
This is the other one.
So I had two, you've had two. Yep.
And this one did have a bit of a loose shaft as well, which I was pretty disappointed in. But I managed to get it tight enough to probably test it out. But now, keep in mind, I did have this plugged in on the bench and set it to my channel and everything. We're out in the field today. I thought I'll take this for a flight because we've got a stock one here. Plugged it in and it burst out.
Let's plug it in again and see if anything happens.
Just plug this in and...
Hey!
Oh, it still stinks.
Yeah, actually I can smell that.
Yeah, anyway.
Yeah, something's melting.
It let the smoke out, so that's not good. We've had 4 of these between us now.
Yep.
And each one of them was
Alright, so give it a Grumpy Trev rating out of 10 for value. So whatever, I don't know how much it was, like 180 bucks or something?
Well, there's no value in it if it doesn't work, so
yep.
It's 0.
Okay, and what about performance?
Performance?
Yeah.
Well, considering there's 3 out of 4 of them didn't fly and we had to put new motors on another one just to get it to go, and that still flew like crap, a -1.
-1, so that's worse than 0.
This would be the biggest piece of I've had. Look, I honestly, they have got some really good stuff, but I reckon they're trying to do too much.
Yep.
Unfortunately, this one is going to bring them down if they don't fix their issues.
Yep, definitely, 100%.
It's a real shame.
100% agree.
Good looking quad, but it just doesn't fly, so it's probably not a good thing.
Yep. All right, nice. Thanks, Trev. Sorry that yours burst into flames and my other one burst into flames, and then the other one's motors didn't work.
Yeah, I don't know how I'm going to do a 5-minute review on this.
All right, we'll leave Grumpy Trev's review somewhere up here too if it's done by the time I upload this. All right, thanks, Trev. Alrighty, there it is. There's my part 2 review of the FURIBee Fire Dancer, and even though it's got some good specs in here, and on paper this thing does look good, but I'm going to say we have to give this one a big miss because it's just not right to have that amount of failure. I mean, like my first one, this one came with a dodgy motor, so I swapped those out. When I got the replacement to test it, that burst into flames. One of Trevor's didn't work, you know, his motor was broken, and then Trevor's burst into flames in the field, which I wish I had recorded that because he had a lot of profanity that he let flying. It was very funny. So my message to FURIBee would be, look, You're putting some good specs in there, but what you really need to do, you really need to focus on the quality, because look, you've had some good successes in the past, things like the FURIBEE X215, that thing was great. The Firedancer has potential, but just the quality control is not there. The motor shouldn't be slipping like that, and honestly, people are going to stop buying the FURIBEE products if their quality keeps on dropping. So yeah, definitely, I'm going to say give this one a miss, a bit of a letdown. Subscribe for more FPV related content. Drop some comments down below. Share some love for Grumpy Trev. Put those in the comments down below. I'll leave a link to his channel as well. And subscribe for more FPV related content. And as always, happy flying.
Alrighty, so hopefully you guys enjoyed that video. Definitely subscribe if you're new to the channel and check out these videos. And I'm also going to leave a little link here to my Patreon page, because I've got some fantastic Patreon supporters and I like to give back to them as well. So if you want to join the UAVfutures family, there's things like bonus Velcro straps, little bundles of FPV goodies and things like that that also get sent out. Anyway, happy flying.